Welcome into the Low Post Pod. I'm your host, Christian Martinelli, once again joined by Matt and Kyle after a crazy week of games. We had week 7, we had the first round of the playoffs. A lot going on in this last week, and we're going to get right into it here. We're not going to spend much time on week 7 here. I'm just going to give you the final scores because the real important thing now is the playoffs. So we're going to spend way more time on the playoffs and talking about the quarterfinals and the first round. But week 7, I'll just give you the scores quick. Good U versus Ozone Boys. Good U was able to hold them off, win 66-55. Mambas versus Lob City. Mamba showed up with 3 guys. The final score reflected that. Lob City kills them 128-71, which we kind of predicted would be a blowout anyway. Duyer's Boys versus Orcas. Orcas kept it a little close, but Duyer's Boys ended up beating them pretty sound in the end, 80-65. Warriors versus the Crooks, a good defensive battle, but I think the better team came out on top. The RI Warriors win this one 56-47. Werewolves and Stampede. Werewolves lead 19-0 in the first quarter, huge lead. Stampede actually makes a little comeback here, and the Werewolves win this game 97-71, but it actually seemed like a way bigger blowout. And then Ball Don't Lie versus Sin City, best game of the week at least. Sin City survives 75-74. Grant Rosenberg misses a buzzer beater. Very close, great game. But there's some other games that are more important to talk about now. And that first game I want to talk about actually involves Ball Don't Lie, a team that we've been pretty hard on until about 2 weeks ago. They didn't really show us much of anything, but all of a sudden, this is a team that has shown a lot of life. And, they ended up with a really tough matchup here in the first round. They ended up with the Ozone Boys, who you two actually, had as potential champions. But shockingly to some people, Ball Don't Lie comes out on top 55-49 in a depleted Ozone Boys squad, only 4 guys, and an Ozone Boys squad that was terminated after the game. They all retired. So kind of a crazy game and result from this one.
Yeah, the first game of the night. First off, it was cool to just see the playoff atmosphere of legacy leagues. It being my first year and everything. But I knew it was going to be a little weird when I saw Ball Don't Lie had 8 players and Ozone had 4, meaning Ozone had no subs. And in a playoff game, doesn't matter who you're playing. If you don't have any subs, if you have players that get hurt, players that get tired, players that are cold, you need subs. Subs are a very very important part of the game. I don't care if you got 4 stars out there, you need substitutions. They didn't have any, so they looked to Luke Hogan and Paul McGuire to carry the weight. It took McGuire a bit to get going, but Hogan was really trying to do it all for Ozone. 7 rebounds, 25 points, which led all other scores on Ozone combined. Again, there was only 4 of them, but Ball Don't Lie, they were up for this challenge right out the gate. Ellis Einhorn hit 3 threes right out the gate, and then he scored 1 more point the whole game, which is kind of a trend for him. He comes out really hot in the first quarter, but it was Grant Rosenberg's night. He saw this opportunity to get that 10-7 upset, dropping 33. And besides him and Ellis, the rest of the team, had a little bit here and there. I mean, players were making good plays, but for scoring, it was all Grant. He was all over the place. And he was probably the best player out of these 2 teams. And I'd like to say that whatever team has the best player definitely has a chance to win, no matter the odds. So good game from Ball Don't Lie. Again, I talked a lot about how Ozone didn't have a bench, but Ball Don't Lie still went out there and got the win. I think they deserved it.
For me, I don't think this was a good game for Ball Don't Lie. I think they could have won this game by more. It's their shooting that was their biggest struggle. And the only reason why they won was because of Grant Rosenberg making his free throws at the line. He shot almost 35%, and he was the highest shooting guy on the team. I mean, yeah, Chase Batista had 50%, though he only took 2 shots. But yeah, it was just very sloppy. Ellis didn't really feel comfortable because they realized he can light up from the 3. He really got shut down after he made those first 3 shots. I I don't know how Ball Don't Lie was able to come away with this win despite how bad their shooting was. But it was their defense that won the game. And when you play good defense, you win games. That's something we are all taught when we are first introduced with basketball. And it clearly showed. Ozone did not do much better, 36% from the field. Luke Hogan shot 41%. It was just a very sloppy basketball game. Great for defense, very horrible if you wanted to see an offensive game to last night.
Now, see, I wouldn't even necessarily say that it was great for defense because there can be games where it's not really amazing for either. Bad offense doesn't always equate to good defense. It was just some sloppy shots and bad shot selection. But I get what you're saying about Ball Don't Lie. Obviously, they could have won this game by more. But in my opinion, especially with the legacy leagues and when you're the underdog, it's just kind of survive and advance. You can say they got a little bit of luck on their side to play a depleted Ozone boys. Again, no subs, coming off a rough skid second half of that schedule. But I'm still giving Ball Don't Lie their roses here. I think it was a pretty solid win from them. From, again, a team that I don't feel like it's fair to be like, oh, they could have won by more when we weren't even expecting them to get a 10 seed. We thought they might have been coming at the bottom with the Mambas and the Stampede. So I still think it was a good win for them.
Yeah, I think
I was gonna say if I was them, yeah, it is a win. Yeah, this is a playoff win, but it's just if I was them, it's a taste I wouldn't like to have in my mouth, knowing that I shot 20 as a team collectively that we shot 28% from the field. So a lot of the shots did feel forced though, but I think they're gonna turn their game up next week because this was lucky. They're not gonna they can't win another game next week by shooting 28% from the field. Then that's facts.
Hey, a win's a win. I think Ball Don't Lie is going to take it, but they're definitely a more dangerous team when they're not settling for threes like we see here, 5 for 30. I think when they're getting to the rim, they're actually, a pretty solid team they've been showing here over the last few weeks. And then on the Ozone Boy, just to spend a minute on them, they just, 5 straight losses to end the year. They started off 3-0, then they just lose 5 straight. The Wheels just, they had a hard schedule, without a doubt, hard schedule. But it was just a tough ending to the year, tough ending to their careers. I'll read their Instagram post quick. Let's see. The Ozone Boys is no longer an organization after countless blown calls, a clear tough schedule from the league, and never playing the commissioner's team. We are hanging up the kicks. It was a fun run, but all good things come to an end. Forever Ozone. So there you have it.
Tough to see them go.
Yeah, it was a tough way to see him go. You gotta love the Ozone Boys, but they got about 9 months to rethink that decision. So hopefully they'll come back next year because they're a fun team.
I liked in the comments that Shane Patrick was trying to recruit some of them to join the Dugays Boys. That I thought I got a good chuckle out of that.
The Dugays Boys are just gonna become like
the Warriors from 2017.
Yeah, basically the Warriors. Yeah. They're just going to be even more unstoppable.
That's Legacy League's tampering.
Yeah, honestly, Shane's getting fined enough, but I think he's going to get fined again for that tampering, honestly.
I'm going to go comment that right now.
But congrats to Ball Don't Lie, because I don't think anybody saw them winning a playoff game, and now here they are. They have a chance to take down the 2 seed, which we'll get into in a little bit. But the next game, a game between 2 teams who have been kind of streaky throughout the season. You never really know what you're going to get from these teams. With Sin City, you really never knew if they were going to show up. With Halfway Crooks, you never really know if they were going to be able to score the ball this night on a certain night. But they played great yesterday. They beat Sin City handily, 70-50. What did you guys see in this game? Because it didn't seem like it was ever very close.
Yeah, Kyle, if you want to take this one, I think you were on this court, right?
Yeah, I was running statistics for this one. This was an odd game because Sin City only had 4 players, and then they had 5 at the beginning of the second quarter. Then everyone on their team showed up at halftime, though. But by the time halftime rolled around, they were down by 15, and they were just too dug into the ground to try to get themselves back out of. So they put themselves in a hole that they couldn't get themselves out of. And because of that, Halfway Crooks took advantage of just being down in the post sloppy 3-point shooting. So they were able to realize that, hey, 3-point shooting isn't really working for us. Let's use Dylan Lincoln and the other big boys that we got.
Sweeney.
Yep, Sweeney and Bobby Wilcox. He was also down there for a little bit too, but mostly Dylan. He was down there backing down. I liked a lot of the passing that they did, allowing the play to develop on a 3-on-2 situation, always making that extra pass to make the easy layup and dunk too. They played smart basketball, and that's simply how you win in this league. And honestly, a lot of other teams take notes after them because they did it so perfectly.
Yeah, so I wasn't able to catch this game. I was on the other court, but I mean, I wasn't surprised to see Halfway Crooks get the win. I was impressed with Brandon Sweeney and what I saw from him in the games that I saw. Dylan Lincoln, I mean, dominant, 8 for 10. Bobby Wilcox, 7 for 10 as well. But it's time to call some people out right now. How do you say our dear commissioner's last name? Because apparently I said it wrong last time. Joey's last
Zocco.
name. It's Zocco?
Pretty sure, yeah.
No, I'll just say Joey. 0 points in a playoff game. Now I didn't see his minutes. I didn't see any of that. He took 1 shot, and I'm not here for it. It's honestly, it's embarrassing. Joey, I need better from you. And that's all I have to say.
You're end up not getting credit for this.
I want to be honest. I like Joey as the coach. He was actually doing a very good job coaching the team when he was on the bench. Like, he was telling the referee like some of the rules that the referee didn't know, and so he actually was helping his team out. Though it wasn't on the floor, but like telling people like, "Hey, guy open in the corner," or like cut down and stuff like this. So he was being vocal. It's just being vocal doesn't show up on the stat
Then
sheet. But he was
should be the
he was a
coach
team
then.
player.
Yeah, we've been giving Joey a little bit of a hard time. He's telling us he's got old ankles, bad ankles, he's beat up, all this stuff. But
All this
come
hoopla.
on, we expect a little bit more. 3 points a game. I'm not really loving what I'm seeing from the commissioner here. So, coaching this, that, the other. He's going to need to do a little bit more than coach next week because they got a real tough matchup on their hands that we'll get into later. But Sin City, honestly, I don't really think they deserve to win a playoff game after just kind of like not really being too invested in the season at all. Halfway Crooks, good for them. They got this playoff win. I'm not sure if they're going to get another, but this is a team that deserved it. They're pretty into it. So
I'll be honest before we move on. If Robert Boynton showed up earlier into this game, I think this game would have been a lot closer. He's got a nice jumper. He's got a nice free throw rhythm. His jumper is so nice to watch. I wish he had shown up earlier in this game. He definitely could have helped out Sin City a lot instead of showing up at halftime. Very sad to see.
Tough scene. Well, we'll get into the third game of the night, and that was Stampede versus Good U. Matt, I think you were on this court, not this field. And this was, I think we could have predicted this outcome pretty easily. Stampede, they've struggled most of the season. Good U, obviously, they don't have the best record of all time, but we know they're probably a top 4 team in this league. And the final score showed it, 99-52. It was never close. Literally by halftime, they were down about 30 points. And what happened here? How was Good U just able to dominate like this?
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to get lazy in my analysis, but they were simply just better. Every player was just better in their matchups. Like, they were just shooting better. They broke down Stampede's defense really easily. Good U at some points looked like they weren't even like trying on defense, to be honest. I mean, at some points, players were just doing fancy passes and things like that, given that they were given their good guys, a rest. I mean, Brendan Degnan, who I will announce right now, got my vote for the 5th man of the year. Maybe I should have kept that confidential, but whatever. But he got my vote for 5th man. He had 20 because they were sitting Matt St. Hours and Randy Butler and their starters, their best guys. They were just sitting them. I mean, this thing wasn't close from the jump. I think Stampede knew that. It was just going to be really hard to crawl back out of that hole. I mean, I applaud them for playing until the final whistle. Todd French, Brad Allen, Dan Heston, 16, 15, and 14 respectively. But I think out of every matchup this week, this was the one that you could have just predicted. the outcome.
Yeah, pretty easily.
I didn't get a chance to see this game though, but again, we knew Goodhue was going to show up to this game. They take every game very seriously. They've played together before. They know how to work together as a team and stuff. This is stuff we've all talked about before. And simply, this was just business in their office, as I like to call it. And they took it very professionally, and they're looking forward to next week. That's all I have to say.
Yeah, simple as that. Goodhue was just way too good for them. Stampede, they're gonna have to retool a little bit in the offseason if they're gonna be able to hang with the big guys. They just don't have the weaponry to really keep up with the best teams in this league. And it showed back-to-back nights when they're kind of getting run off the floor. But Goodhue now going into a matchup with the Werewolves, which is going to be very interesting. Werewolves kind of getting screwed as a 3 seed with a really hard matchup here. So that's going to be a really interesting game to get into, and I'm excited to talk about that a little bit more than this blowout. But the last playoff game of the night yesterday, another blowout actually. Mambas, they're just kind of, it's a sad story with them. They just, for at one point in the season, it looked like they had a chance to maybe do some damage, and then they just kind of fall apart here at the end of the season. They get crushed yesterday by 50. They get crushed in this game by 35-40. Orcas blow them off the floor 75-39. They just couldn't score the ball. Really tough. What happened here, guys?
Yeah, this might have been one of the most boring games I've ever watched. I mean, like, Kyle, I think you were on Snap for this one. I mean, it was just slow at the beginning. It was like
that fourth quarter was really a drag.
Yeah, I mean, the fourth, yeah, but like even the first, like it took a while for either team to. I think it was 0-0 at the 7-minute mark. Like no team wanted to just put their foot on the gas and just go. I think the Orcas knew no matter what they would eventually win this game, and maybe the Mambas just weren't up for it playing a 5 seed. But I still thought, even though the Mambas were a 12 seed playing a 5 seed, they still had a chance in this game. I firmly believe that. It was not the best we've seen from the Orcas by far. I mean, Dexter Lou had 26 points, and about 10 of those were just garbage time layups and dunks. I mean, the Mambas, look, they weren't gonna win, but it could have been a bigger fight than this. Again, they had no subs, but I mean, holy crap! Watching this game, it was just a tough watch. I mean, 6 points in the fourth quarter for the Mambas. I mean,
it's ugly.
Yeah, I mean, at points both teams were just walking. I was looking at the ref with 5 minutes left. Like, can we just call this? Like, I mean, this is rough. But I mean, Orcas get a win, so. That's all that really matters, but tough watch.
Yeah,
it's. I'll be honest with you. It's a hard season. Mambas are definitely they're not happy. No team wants to end the season with 0 wins. And honestly, if I was the Mambas, I would be the ones putting a post on Instagram saying that we're retiring.
Yeah,
because they lost by 30 plus points on back-to-back nights. Like I don't know how you can keep continuing to go out there. I mean, they shot 22% from the field. The Orcas had a team high. I don't know if this definitely wasn't a record though, but a team record for them 51 rebounds. I mean, it's difficult.
It's a lot of misses. Yeah, I think now we put together the Mambas and the Basket Hounds, and they're like 0-18 at this point. I think either they got to find some new guys, or I think they might need to go on to better pastures, because it's getting ugly at this point. I wouldn't want to pay all this money to get my butt kicked week in and week out. But the Orcas, I mean, I don't know. What am I going to say about them? They've been playing pretty decent, so maybe they have a chance next week. But yeah, Mambas, when you're playing them, I mean, I don't think you can really make a fair assessment about anybody. I thought they would be a little better as the season went on, but didn't happen.
I mean, it looks like the Orcas are having just like a regular scrimmage.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, that's basically what it is. They don't have Mambas don't have the size. They don't have the bodies. It's just tough for them. So
and half of their team quit on it. They started the season with like 7.
Yeah, started with 7, Tuesday they played with 3. Yesterday they played with 4. Not ideal. So let's just get right into the quarterfinals games because most of those games stunk yesterday. There was kind of, besides Ozone Boys versus Bull Don't Lie, the rest of the games were pretty garbage. So I'm more excited to talk about these matchups. And this first one is an okay matchup. Halfway Crooks are obviously going to be heavy underdogs here against Duyer's Boys. I'm thinking probably 20 to 25 point underdogs here, but Halfway Crooks have been looking pretty solid here the last few weeks. They, put up a good fight against Lob City. They, who else they play? They crushed the Mambas. They just lost to the Warriors, and they beat Sin City pretty handily. So they've been playing some pretty good basketball here. They've been hanging around, tough teams. So what do you guys feel here? Because Duyer's Boys, obviously, they're just on another level, kind of beating everyone pretty handily. I feel like this is probably pushing a 20-point line.
Yeah, 20-point line I think is fair. The one thing I think the Duyer's Boys have to look out for is Halfway Crooks getting inside. We've seen with Bobby Wilcox, Dylan Lincoln, Brandon Sweeney, they can get inside and be effective. They got moves on the post that they can go to. Again, I think the Duyer's Boys win this game pretty comfortably, even if it's close at some points. I won't ever really get nervous about an upset here. I just think they got 2 players, in my opinion, that should be on the first team, all-star team, all-star first team, and Vincent Volpe and John Q2. One thing that does scare me about them, though, is sometimes they lack some subs, and sometimes their subs aren't that effective. It's really just a strong 4 going out there. But again, barring any injuries or things like that, I think this should be a pretty comfortable game. Honestly, I honestly would not be surprised if this one got to the 30-point mark, but because the Halfway Crooks are going to play this one really hard, knowing it's most likely their last game of the year, I think it'll stay towards the 15-20 range, but I got Duyer's on this one.
For me, I want to say Duyer's win this by 20. And I think this might be a big game for Shane Patrick, but it's going to be on the defensive side because simply he's the big guy that they need. He gets the blocks. He averages right now 2 blocks a game. He just needs to stay down there, get the rebounds. He can get some steals getting in the passing lane. And simply, I would just, whenever he gets the ball, just chuck it up the court. John and Vince are going to be together. It's going to be a quick 2-on-1, and that's how they're going to score mostly all the baskets. If they do that, I mean, I think that alone will have them winning by easily 20. You get Zach Tartaglia in there and everyone else, this can easily go to 30, 35 potentially.
Yeah, I think, yeah, like you guys said, Halfway Crooks, this is a team that, in my mind, honestly, with the players they have, they've slightly underperformed all year. So I think they can come in here with their size and put up a good fight. But, Shane Patrick, I think, if he gets in Halfway Crooks' heads, they're totally screwed. But if he doesn't get in their heads, I think Halfway Crooks has a chance to, maybe keep this within 15 points throughout the game. But obviously, it's the obvious pick. But Duyer's Boys, I'm going to take them pretty handily here. I think they have a pretty favorable schedule to get to the championship. And repeat here. So I think we're all on the same page. Duyer's Boys, they're too good. Halfway Crooks, I'm happy that they were able to win a playoff game, but the road comes to the end here. I think we're all pretty sure of that.
Right.
And yeah, we all agree. So on to the second game next week. And this is between the Werewolves and Good U. To me, this is the most intriguing playoff game by far.
Absolutely.
Yeah, did these 2 teams play recently? I'm trying to remember. I feel like they did.
I can't remember off the top of my head.
I know Werewolves just beat Lob City. Werewolves just beat Ozone Boys. But I can't remember if the Werewolves ever beat Good U. I don't know. I don't see it, but it doesn't really matter right now. All I know is these are 2 teams that are extremely evenly matched. You can throw away the
sorry to interrupt you, but Good
Yeah.
U and Werewolves did play. It was week 2. Good U won 72-58.
Okay. And I think the Werewolves are just a totally different team there. We've seen them knock off 5 straight wins here against very good teams. And Good U, since that time, I think they're a 500 team. So it's even though you see the 3 and the 6, I think these teams you could just say they're both 3 seeds basically. This is going to be a great matchup. I think this is essentially a pick 'em, and it really is going to come down to how dominant can Brian Heston be, because overall Good U is probably a slightly more talented team. But I think Heston, again, is going to be the best player on the court in my eyes.
Yeah. Well, not so fast on best player on the court here. I don't know about that one.
I think he's a little better than Matt, but it's close.
Yeah.
Well, Matt's pretty one-dimensional. He's good on offense though, but not so much on defense. Where you got Brian Heston, who can basically do anything. In my eyes, he's the Giannis of the Legacy League.
That's fair.
That's a pretty good comparison. Now, do not sleep on Matt St. Hours' defense. Like, he's not a stat defensive player. He's not a steal block guy. He just plays good, solid defense. Because I was watching him, because I was actually wondering, is he just an offensive guy? No, he can play on both sides of the ball. This is by far the most interesting matchup, though. It's so hard to call this, because I was saying Werewolves. I'm all on the Werewolves, and then I saw they're playing Good U, and I'm like, wow, because I saw how many points Good U can score. They have they have 4 or 5 guys on their team, maybe even 6 that can get you 20 if you need them to. They're a deep, deep team. In my opinion, the pressure is on the Werewolves besides Heston and Campbell, because those guys are going to show up. So guys like Gino 40, the rest of their team, they're needed here, because they needed Gino to drop 20 to beat Lob City. And Gino wasn't doing that in other games. So I think the pressure is on the Werewolves this week, because they were all getting everybody to gas them up, because they were getting cheated out of power rankings and stuff. And Good U was falling, but we know how good U is. And I'm really not sure. I'm not even sure who to pick here for a winner. I have to just say, oh my God, Kyle, I want to hear you first, because I don't know what to pick here.
Well, I'll tell you this. Good U, they've scored almost 100 points in week 1, and then almost 100 in the playoffs. But it was against the same team, though. When they have not played the Stampede, they average around in the 60s, sometimes in the 70s, but for the most part in the 60s. And they're on the older side. They do have a deeper bench, but they are on the older side. Werewolves are younger. They feel a lot more loose. Their offense and defense and the transition game is going to be the biggest thing for the Werewolves. They run it so smoothly, and Brian Heston, he's got like endless energy. He can be up and down the court, do this for the whole game. There's a lot of down towards the end of the season. There were times where he only sat down the bench for like maybe 2 or 3 minutes out of the whole game. He was playing like 37 out of 40. I think one game he might have played the whole game just because they didn't have any. But like, this is even with the full bench for them. I just find that pretty impressive. And we've seen Gino light it up also. So if Brian Heston's going to be the deciding factor on how Werewolves do. So I'm going to take the MVP, and I'm going to take the Werewolves winning by 5.
See, you might have swayed me a little bit, because I was on the fence, and my heart was saying Werewolves. My brain was saying Good U, but I want to go with my heart here. And I'm going to say Werewolves as well. Because you also don't know who you're going to get with Good U, if they're going to get their whole team or whatever.
And we've seen them down in tight games. They've only won simply because of the other team missing their shots. Like, it's not even them playing defense; it's just that they played a team who just simply can't make their shots. They get the ball, and it's just an immediately foul in the free throw game. They can make their free throws though, but it all depends on the other team. It's going to be difficult when they play against the Werewolves, though, because the Werewolves aren't going to be chucking up threes. They want to play the inside game. Yeah. But then again, the Werewolves lack a free throw game. So that's where it becomes difficult.
Yeah, I think we're all gonna hop on the werewolves train here. Man, I don't know. Good U has just been a little inconsistent for me, and besides obviously Duyer's werewolves are the hottest team in the league. So I think I'm going to take the Werewolves to win this by a possession. I think this is going to be an unbelievable game. Like if this is anything more than like a 5-6 point game either way, I would honestly be shocked. I think this game's going to be lit. I know Werewolves is definitely going to get a little crowd to the game. So I'm really excited for this game. I'm thinking that Werewolves will just sneak this out. Um, Brian Heston, I think he's just, I don't know, man. He always seems to get it done when he needs to get it done. And right now they just feel like a little bit of a team of destiny, the way things have been going. So one question I have for you guys, Kyle, you said Brian Heston is your MVP. That's interesting. I think in my mind he would be my defensive player of the year. Matt, what did you have at Brian for any postseason awards?
Yeah, I had him as my MVP as well.
Oh wow.
I'm trying to remember who I put for my defensive player of the year. I can't remember off the top of my head. It could have been Brian if we're being honest, but I know for sure that he was my MVP because
Mhm.
you got to look. Sometimes MVP is not always best player. For here, it might be the case, but take Brian take Brian off the Werewolves. Do you have
Yes.
a team that you think can win it all? But then you take John off Duyes, they still got Vincent. Take Vincent, they still got John. Take Matt off Good U, they still got a hell of a team. Like,
Mm. So you're taking most valuable literally, which I like that.
yeah, whenever I think of most valuable, I I genuinely think of like valuable to that team. He makes the biggest difference when he's there and when he's not.
Yeah, I think that's a fair pick. I'm hoping I didn't get to fill one out. I'm hoping Joey still lets me fill one out because I feel like I got some good picks this year. But yeah, if Brian Heston wins MVP, he definitely deserves it. He brought this team back from the dead, and now this is a team that's one win away from being in the Final Four. So I'm looking forward to this game. Either team wins, wouldn't be shocked. But like we all said, we're on the Werewolves here by a few points, and it's going to be. I think it's going to be a classic in my mind. I'm ready for a classic. Uh,
It just thinks that this had to be the quarterfinals game.
right? This could easily be the championship in my mind. In a different world if Duyer's boys didn't exist, but they do. So great matchup. On to another matchup that is extremely evenly contested, which is this is the 4-5 matchup. The Warriors versus the Orcas. The Warriors have just quietly, like extremely quietly, they haven't beat any of the best teams in the league up until this point, but they've just been winning, winning, winning. Um, I think they ended up with a 5-2 record, and no one's talking about them. No one really knows who they are, but they're a force to be reckoned with, really, with Kevin Figueredo down low and some really solid guards. And I mean, the RI Warriors are going to be really tough, and the Orcas have been an up and down team all year. In my mind, I think the Warriors should be favored here by at least 7-8 points. What are you guys thinking in this game?
Yeah, definitely uh a game that I have literally no idea how to call it. Like the Warriors, you're so right about them sneakily just getting that 4 seed. Like really came out of nowhere, just quietly winning their games. And Orcas, okay, they're like a whatever team. Like they're not bad. Uh, I don't know. I think I'm probably gonna lean for the Warriors here, and this might just be lack of like understanding of both teams. So I'm going with the team that's been playing better more recently because I find this game the most difficult to call. Kyle, I'm not sure how you feel about it.
Well, I mean, we've seen the Orcas do good in the beginning. In the middle of the season, we've seen them reach their lowest point by simply scoring like 30 points in back-to-back games, 25% shooting. And I mean, they did seem to find like some of the get back some of their rhythm though. But I mean, they faced the weak Mambas team, so like, can I really like count that as like them getting back on track? Like that was just really a practice for them. Warriors, they've always been in the middle though, and they really like keep themselves quiet. They're a team that doesn't really like all that attention. And I got a lot of respect for them because they don't want to get distracted from the main goal. And that's simply what happened. Is that's how they got the 4th seed. And it also took the Orcas losing to the Duguay's boys in week 7, unfortunately, how that worked out. But yeah, the RA Warriors, they have their affairs in order. Unlike the Orcas, we could either see a very great game or we can see a very bad game. There's no in between. The Warriors, we know we can put up a solid 70 points. It just depends on their defense because Orcas have height. But sometimes that height really can break down because Orcas sometimes can't handle the pressure. So for those reasons, I'm going to say RA Warriors win by 2 points.
2, yeah. I think Kevin Figueredo, probably one of the only people in the league that can slow him down is Jeff Winchell of the Orcas, another big, strong body. He's probably one of the few guys that can just match that strength he has inside. So that's going to be an interesting matchup to keep your eyes on. I think this is going to be a low-scoring game played in probably – I think it's going to be less than 60 points for each team here. I think it's going to be played in the 50s. And, that 7-8 point line that I set, I'm thinking that the Orcas are going to cover it, but I think the Warriors just squeak this one out. They've just been more consistent all year. Orcas haven't shown an ability to score consistently. Obviously, they've been figuring out a little bit more here and there. They put up 81 against a good U team who didn't really have all their guys. They were able to score 65 against Duguay's. They put up 70-something against Mambas, but, they haven't proven week in and week out that they're able to do this. And they only scored 2 against Sin City, which obviously was a forfeit. But no, I think the Warriors come out on top here, but it's going to be a really good game. This is another really good game, and probably going to be the game that's going to be the second most closely contested after the Werewolves versus Good U, in my opinion. And to get to the last game of the week, Lob City versus Ball Don't Lie. Again, a surprising team to be here is Ball Don't Lie after starting the season 0-4. No one really expected them to get into this final 8. Everyone was probably thinking they were going to be a first-round exit, including ourselves. The Hebrew Hammer, Jake Abrams, called me after their game, and he's like, heard you guys on the podcast. After week 4, you guys lit a fire underneath our ass, this, that, and the other. So, I think in a way we really get most of the credit for Ball Don't Lie's success here. We've really been gassing them up these last few weeks. So we gave them their flowers. And now, unfortunately, I think it comes to an end here. Lob City is just too good. And Ball Don't Lie just doesn't score the ball well enough. Besides, Ellis is good for about 15-20 a game. Obviously, Grant is good for 25-30. But then after that, they struggle to put the ball in the hoop. And against Lob City, we're looking at a team that is just very big, very athletic. And I think this is going to be a 20-point win for Lob City. I don't think they're going to – I think it would have been a much tougher game for Lob City if they were going to have to face Ozone this week. Ball Don't Lie, I don't think they have the facilities for this big man, as some people would say.
I was just gonna say that as soon as you said facilities. But yeah, you said it all. Yeah, I mean, Ball Don't Lie. Again, I don't want to speak too soon, but great season from them. I mean, I thought that with that squad, they put out a pretty, I think this is a positive season to look back on. I don't want to call it as if the game's already happened, but I mean, it's Lob City. Like, it'd be hard to beat them. So I'm expecting like a 20-25 point win for Lob City. And then, yeah, but I hope that Grant Rosenberg and them boys at Ball Don't Lie can keep it close.
Yeah, I'm going to take Lob City, though. I'm going to say 15 points, but I believe Ball Don't Lie can push this into the single digits, but obviously them losing and make this a lot tougher game for Lob City. Simply by doing this, you have to be very rough with Lob City because they like to go down into the basket. So, don't rough them up a little bit. Don't be afraid to shove them and stuff and make them really feel uncomfortable. Make them work hard for it. And if they get fouled going up for the shot, they're not really that good of free throw shooters. So a lot of their big men can't really shoot. They average like in the 50s and 60%. So let them miss their free throw shots. And who knows, you might have this in the single digits. You might have it a lot closer than what my two companions here think. But I think this could definitely get into the single digits. But if that's not the case, I'll say 15.1 for Lob City.
Kyle condoning violence. I don't know if we're going to be able to put that on the internet, but no. But listen, if I can give Ball Don't Lie a little advice here, because I think they're going to need it, I would say you got to play off of Lob City. Let them beat you from the 3-point line, because if they get to the hoop, they're just going to dunk all over you. They're just way too bouncy, some of these guys. And then on the other end, they can't be settling for threes all game, because we saw, they were hardly able to escape the Ozone Boys shooting 5 for 30 from 3. I thought the same thing when they played Sin City on Tuesday, settling for too many shots. I think they got to put their head down, be aggressive, get to the free throw line as much as possible. And that's really going to be their best bet here, because anything else, if they're going to try and, obviously at some point we're going to probably see Lob City take a little lead here. And if they try and keep getting back into the game with 3-pointers, it's just not going to happen. You don't have the 3-point shot down on 8.5 feet. And, when you start trying to get the whole game back with the 3-point ball, it just doesn't work. So I think they got to be aggressive here and see what happens. It's their best shot to try and do a monumental, legendary upset in the Legacy Leagues here. So that's going to be the quarterfinals. Really looking forward to it. It's obviously going to be super exciting. A few games that I think could be, all-time great of excitement level.
That Good You Werewolves game has a classic written all over it.
I think it does. I would be shocked if it isn't a game where we all leave the gym saying that night, like, man, that was one of like the best men's league basketball games I've ever seen. I just assume that's how it's going to be, honestly. Just two electric teams.
I want to say the same for the RA Warriors Orcas game, though, but we know next week that I can confidently say that the Dugaze boys will eliminate the winner of the 4-5 game. But it would still be an interesting game to watch regardless.
Yeah.
Unless someone proves me wrong. I wouldn't mind that happening. I would like to see.
I was gonna say you'd be real happy to see someone prove you wrong.
I would be pretty happy.
Orcas and Warriors would be an interesting game because like it's a coin toss. But I mean, Werewolves and Good You is just like different because like both teams are just so talented and are going to be coming for each other's throats. Because if Good You lose, they're thinking, damn, we had one of the best teams on paper and we dropped to a 6 seed and we lost this early. And if Werewolves lose, they were like, well, shit, we crawled our way back all the way just to lose in the quarterfinal. Both teams have a lot to lose.
Yeah, there's a lot on the line this week. Maybe even some lives on the line this week. We'll see how serious it gets on the court because I heard there was some stuff last week. Not going to get into it. But we'll see you guys all here next week. Going to be an awesome week. Super excited. And maybe next week we'll even get into some of our picks for our defensive player, most improved player, MVP. We'll talk about that stuff as well when we have a little bit more time. But thank you guys for joining us again. Low Post Pod. And we're going to see an amazing week. So thank you guys. See you.